Welcome back to our show, Light on America. I'm Pat Micone, president of the Republican Club of Laguna Woods, and while my co-host, who's usually here, Kendall, she couldn't be with us today, but she will be back. With each of our shows, we strive to present you the truth and facts surrounding the key issues of the day in order to dispel misinformation, disinformation, and yes, malinformation put forth in our mainstream media. Facts that you may not be learning on a day-to-day basis if you're looking at more mainstream media. As we prepare for this 2024 election year, we believe that it's crucial that in the most defining election of our lifetime. So, what's at stake? Everything. So, I have here today a guest, and I'm privileged to introduce Urson Russell, who will present the California State of Elections, and he will let us know what we need to know and what we need to do. But first, I want to read his impressive bio, and honestly, it tells it all. This man is amazing. Russell is the president of Patriot Force California, a grassroots organization that works to restore election integrity by educating citizens on how their elections are run in California, along with informing them on their civic duty to preserve our republic form of government, not democracy, our Republican form of government. Patriot Force also represents California for Cause for America. That's Mike Lindell's grassroots organization that works with various networks in other states across the country. Urson is not paid to work on elections, but he's a volunteer, like countless others, donating their precious time and their treasure to help others through training, mentoring, and his leadership skills. Urson works with a team of specialists in database management, data management, and architecture, research, Canvas training, geographic information systems, California public record requests, and dozens of other large grassroots organizations throughout the state to help take back control of our elections. He helps people across the state to understand the most effective method by which our elections can return to honest, transparent, accurate, and with nothing left to trust. So with that, I want to hand you over to our esteemed and honored guest today, Urson Russell. Thank you for being with us, Urson.
Absolutely, Pat. Thank you so much for having me here.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Yeah.
And I look forward to all of us hearing what you have to say to help us.
Yeah. Well, before I get started, number one is what kind of election systems are we looking for? And I've summarized that after just the last 2.5 years of speaking to so many people we'd like to have election systems with nothing left to trust. Nothing. We don't have to trust the people, the process, the systems, the software, the machines. It's so transparent and so accountable to the people and returns back to something that's of local control instead of centralized control. So some of the stuff that we have going on in California kind of summarizes to 4 major challenges. I'll cover those briefly, and then we can talk about maybe some of the actions and some other things like that. Number one challenge that we have in California is our concentrated population. LA County takes the cake. It's 25% of the entire state's 58 counties. It's bigger than 40 other entire states. If you add up 46 of our counties' population, LA County is still bigger than that. That really puts tremendous strain on statewide elections in California. Our counties down here in Southern California, LA, Orange County, San Bernardino, Riverside, and San Diego, that's over half the state lives just down in these 5 counties. And then add another 5 counties, we're almost at 3/4 of the state. In the 2022 general election, as you can see on the slide, we had 8 statewide races, governor, lieutenant governor, U.S. Senate, and so forth, right? And we averaged out those races, and we look at just LA County. Now, every election has either more Democrat votes or more Republican votes. In LA County alone, they had about 860,000 more Democrat votes across all those races. In California, of our 58 counties, we have 32 that typically have more Republican votes in those counties. And that's about 360,000 total votes. So LA County alone outdoes all the Republican-leaning counties by about 500,000 votes.
That's amazing.
So it doesn't mean that a statewide race isn't achievable. It just means that we need to understand actually the realities of what we're working with. And we're not even counting Santa Clara or Alameda or other counties that also have more Democrat votes. So that's challenge number one, is our highly concentrated population. We have a lot of disenfranchised smaller counties that aren't getting representation across the state and so forth. So, second challenge is our Voters' Choice Act and the vote count system. Both of those were passed in 2016. So the good news is it's less than 10 years ago, and there's a way that we can go back to those things. VoteCal is the centralized brain of our voter registration rolls. It connects our counties to the state, and there are, in Orange County alone, an estimated 60,000 changes happening to our voter rolls every single month.
Wow.
And so having the staff and to be able to look at that and analyze that data is a tremendous on-taking for our different counties.
Sounds overwhelming.
Correct. We'd like to get back to where the counties control their voter rolls 100% completely, and then routinely report to the state, which is required by law to stay in compliance with federal law.
Yes.
The Voters' Choice Act, that's what started to centralize all of our voting precincts. Do you remember when you used to just vote at your neighbor's house or a local library?
Yes, I do.
And so with the passing of the Voters' Choice Act, Orange County adopted to get rid of all those independent vote centers and go to more consolidated, centralized vote centers.
Yes.
The issue with that is it removes options for people that used to be able to walk down the street or just a minute or two away. And so it was supposed to be able to make voting easier and give people more options. It also started where we started sending those ballots out to every active eligible voter. And so counties could adopt in that. They had 10 days of early voting and then could legally accept ballots up to 3 days after the election. And so we want to go back to something that is like San Bernardino is doing, which is our largest county geographically in the entire United States, and they're not a Voters' Choice Act county currently.
Wow.
So it can be done. We just did it less than 10 years ago, and those are the types of things that we want to go back to. Community voting, right?
Yes.
And encouraging your friends and things, right, to come vote.
Yes. I'd love to have it at my home.
Correct.
I'd have it right in my garage.
Yes, absolutely.
Also, we have been working. I've been talking to my members of my club. We've been going to the Board of Supervisors to try to appeal to have them get rid of the Voters' Choice Act, but we haven't accomplished that yet. But we're still working on it, Urson.
Yep, and we're going to continue to work on it because they need to do their job. And so the Voters' Choice Act and the vote count system passed in 2016. One of the things that really contributed to was the recall election in 2021. And so we all saw that obviously Gavin Newsom, won that, when the results finally came in. So there was a poll that was done, an exit poll after that election. And most polling places like ABC or Rasmussen, right, they're using 1,000, maybe 1,300 voters. Yeah. There was over 25,000 voters that were surveyed on this online exit poll. And of the 25,000 that were surveyed, and you can see on the slide all the counties that participated, 99% of the people that took the exit poll said that they voted to recall Newsom.
Wow.
And so why was he still in office if there was that actual feeling across the state to recall him? Yes. One of the things that Larry Elder did, who I absolutely adore as a radio host, I've met him several times, is by conceding the election on election night, you'd basically remove all power that you have to really look at anything, to challenge anything, or bring up maybe certain areas of risk. Yes. Now, President Trump today still hasn't conceded the 2020 election, and as many as people agree or disagree with that personal point of view that he's got, he obviously had something that he saw or was influenced by that said he was going to stand by that was a fraudulently held election. So you can see just on polling, it doesn't seem like Gavin Newsom is maybe the most popular governor, compared to what the results were and things.
Yes. And we need to know what we can do with our power.
So prior to the Voters' Choice Act, we had local polling places, 1 day of voting, right? There wasn't all this monstrosity. We then, counties, about half of them now have migrated to the Voters' Choice Act, so that reduced the number of local community polling or voting centers more to consolidated, gave them 10 days, as I mentioned earlier. But it also was opening it up, like a consolidated vote center has more options, right? You can register people to vote there and things that you weren't able to previously do. And we can get into when you can register and all those things. It's a long, drawn-out discussion.
Yes.
But the point is, today you can actually register up till Election Day.
Yes.
And so those are parts of the Voters' Choice Act. Now, after Gavin Newsom won that recall election, then 2 months later he passed Assembly Bill 37. Now, Assembly Bill 37 supersedes the Voters' Choice Act. Now, every county in California gets a ballot mailed to every single active eligible voter in those counties or across the state. It changed it from 10 days of early voting to 29 days of early voting. It changed the acceptance of a properly postmarked ballot from 3 days to now 7 days after election. So we went from 1 day of voting to 37 days of voting pretty quick in California over the course of less than 10 years. And so that Assembly Bill 37 enforcing counties, mandating them to send out a ballot to every single eligible voter, contributes to an extraordinary amount of waste. Not everybody vote by mail. Some people don't vote at all. Some people don't live at the address anymore, and the ballot that's mailed there isn't actually used, right, by that voter. So since 2016, just through the 2022 election, across the state of California, that's been over 75 million ballots that have been unused that were mailed out to people.
That's jaw-dropping.
It is. And so from a visual standpoint of view, I like to tell people, well, we have the clouds outside, right? We've been having a lot of June gloom lately.
Yeah.
Those are about 4 miles up. Planes fly about 7 miles off the ground. This stack of ballots is 2 miles short of reaching space. It's about 60 miles high.
That's unfathomable.
But some people have a hard time visualizing where space starts, right? We're not all going in rocket ships every day. So if you've been to Las Vegas, the Stratosphere Hotel there, the big, tall Needle Hotel, you'd have to stack 271 of those hotels on top of each other in order to equate to the stack of ballots that we've just
that's
absolutely
a great picture
wasted.
to give us.
Yeah. Yeah, it helps really visualize that for a lot of people. And so there's no need for all that waste. Since we passed the Voters' Choice Act and Assembly Bill 37, we haven't gotten more voter turnout. And so I think from an environmental standpoint, which should be a concern for every voter and every citizen in California, it's something that we need to get away with and go back to where we had more localized elections, voting in person, and get rid of this monstrosity that we've got with these ballots going to just about every voter in California.
Yes. And the environmental aspect, I hadn't thought of that.
It's a huge one for our state, right? We have a very, very strong environmental, green, recycling, methodology to our state government, and this is something they should be taking a hard look at.
Let alone all the management of all those ballots. I mean, the logistics and all of that.
Correct. I encourage everybody to come to the vote center in Orange County during voting, like the last 2 weeks and then the week after. You will see the monstrosity of this machine that's required in action. So it's very enlightening. Centralized control is really our last issue from just a high-level perspective. Sacramento has a heavy thumb, right? We've seen that Shasta County in particular, they passed local resolution there to no longer use voting machines, no longer use electronics. And quickly after that, Sacramento passed Assembly Bill 969, which essentially says if you have 1,000 or more people in your election, then you have to use voting machines to tabulate your election results. They've threatened them with lawsuits. They passed that legislation. So when the state is putting its thumb and its weight onto individual counties or even cities, that's where we start to have centralized control of everything that's going on in our elections. I guess there could be a debate whether that's good or bad. We've done uncentralized elections for over 200 years in this country, though. So those are things that I think voters should be thinking about, how long we did it successfully that way, and what seems to now be happening in the division of what's happening in our voter rolls and these other things.
Exactly.
Yeah. Huntington Beach is in Orange County and passed in the 2023 primary. The voters passed their ballot resolution to change their charter. They're a charter city, which is different than maybe other cities that we have. All it said was the citizens want a voter ID for their municipal elections. They want a voter ID required. They want to increase those vote centers that used to be, I believe, 100 plus vote centers, local vote centers. Now they have 13, so they want to add back 20 more, I believe. And there are remote voter drop boxes that are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week during elections that really have no surveillance at all, no security. They want to have video surveillance, which is actually required by our California Code of Regulations.
Sounds like common sense.
And so again, the thumb of Sacramento has is working on passing Senate Bill 1174 that says no matter a charter city or any city can't require ID to vote in our elections, which is unfortunate, right? That's what the citizens of Huntington Beach wanted. Now here's the state again that's going and putting its thumb on all the necks and forcing them as taxpayers to have to defend lawsuits and other things and so forth. The aspect that a city can't run its own elections under the premises of what the citizens of that city wants really shows how much California's state government is going to do everything in its power to keep this centralized control moving forward.
Yes, I mean, we all have city council members. Our city council, that's their job. That's why we elect them.
It really makes them moot.
If
California can just supersede that anytime it wants.
So
that should be a concern for every voter, no matter what party affiliation you're associated with.
You know, Urson, in talking about our cities and how important it is for all of us to think more local, because we have so little control over national. So in looking at our own city, Laguna Woods, we have the 3 openings coming up, and I am encouraging people to get out and attend the meetings and, you know, maybe even run for office. So with that said, I'd love to have you expound a little bit more about Huntington Beach, the issues there, and what's going on. Can you do that?
Yes, absolutely. They have concerns about their elections in Huntington Beach. The citizens do. The city council has now had concerns because the people have spoken up, gone to a lot of meetings and expressed their opinions.
They have good participation at their meetings?
Very good participation. It's a very lively, active meeting with you know, ideologies and beliefs on both sides. So it's good, passionate, robust debate that's there. The 3 things that they wanted to do to bring back ID to vote in their municipal elections. I mean, we need an ID for everything, Pat.
I know.
Right? 32 of our states require some form of ID. 23 of those require a photo ID. We only have 50 states. You could say that we're an exception in California. We're not the standard. Most countries require an ID to vote, including Mexico. So to think of this as something that's going to disenfranchise certain voters or people of color, then let's create a system that allows for free ID for those people when they want to go and vote. It's such a simple solution. But our state goes the opposite way, and it now is threatening with lawsuits and changing laws in our state legislature. When the people speak in the city, 56 to 44% that they want these things.
56% wanted it.
Wanted it. If the city isn't willing to now go and fight, what good was the vote in the first place? When California can just come and decide how a city is going to operate and run. The drop boxes that are there, they have 8 drop boxes. They don't have any video surveillance on them. It's required in the Code of Regulations. They want to go and add video surveillance. That's what their voters wanted. So the county has been telling Huntington Beach that they might have to run their own elections completely because if it's going to require an ID to vote and these other aspects, the county may or may not be prepared to actually go and support that local election.
Are they willing to do that, Huntington Beach? Are they willing to go ahead and do that?
I think in time, when all the dust settles and they see where they really stand, then they can make those decisions that their voters want, right?
Yep.
In addition, they've been making a strong stand against all of the inappropriate material, pornography, borderline pornography that's in their children's libraries.
Yes.
And some of that's been removed. Again, people call this a book ban. All they wanted is moved from the children's section to an adult section.
Yes.
That's not a book ban. That's moving it from one location in the library to another.
It's adult content that they're moving to that section.
And if you as an adult want to go and get that book, if you as a parent think that you have a mature child that needs to be exposed to this, the book's still there, it's still available.
Yes. Yes.
It seems like the librarians, though, are very, very staunch about that they're not going to follow what the parents want through the city council. So they've established a 21-person board or commission. There's 7 city council people. Each of them got to pick 3 parents or 3 local Huntington Beach city residents. And there's going to be a 21-person commission that's going to tell the libraries which of the books are appropriate in the children's section and which ones are not.
That's a great idea.
It is,
plan. Wow.
but yet it has a tremendous amount of pushback from people that seem to have this certain ideology that when parents get involved in their own kids' education, that's some sort of negative impact on society. I can't understand it, even through trying to converse with some of these people, why you would want to have pornography or inappropriate material in your children's section of your library.
It defies common sense.
Correct. It absolutely defies common sense. And the excuses and the reasons are this abusive power of government. Well, the local government in the city is only using what the citizens and the parents that are concerned are asking their actual local elected leaders to do. So they're fulfilling the requests of what their citizens want.
Yes.
That should be a good thing for every resident of Huntington Beach.
Yes, and that's a democratic way for fighting for what the people want.
And so they've got 3 candidates that are running, conservative candidates in the 2024 election. And so if they win 1 or 2 or 3 seats, it would make the Huntington Beach City Council now like a 5 or 6 or 7-0 majority that's there. I think that might help with some of their ability to fight and lawsuits
and to be able to push back and get more.
And really continue to push back. But they're a charter city. The Constitution says they have all right to run their own elections.
Yes.
So it defies common sense again of why the state even went and did this in the first place.
Yes.
Senator Dave Min is who has led this charge in trying to push back. The Attorney General Bonta is who has filed the lawsuits. They actually sued him before the ballot measure was even passed, and court threw it out. And said, it hasn't even been passed yet. How can you sue him for this?
Really? Wow.
And then, like, day 1. So Huntington Beach is setting the example, and that's what we want out of all of our city councils, to give us a local life that we want for our businesses, churches, communities, and so forth.
Wow. Can you talk a little bit about the charter cities? Just maybe a couple minutes on that, because I myself was not aware of the power or the impact a charter city can mean.
So a city can put forth a ballot measure, the citizens vote on it to become a charter city.
Oh.
All other cities are what called general law. They fall under the state's rules. But the charter city falls under Article 11 of the state constitution for local governance.
So more local control.
Correct. And as a citizen, why does anybody want, I don't care if it's Republican leaning or Democrat leaning or controlled in Sacramento, why do you want a group of people 400 miles away making decisions for what's best for your local community? Exactly. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. No. And so
each community is so unique. Huntington Beach is unique over Laguna Woods and Laguna Beach.
Correct. And so we want to have more cities be charter cities. We want to have more coordination between these charter cities so that they're all being combined effort towards pushing back against this stuff. Because Huntington Beach stuck its neck out.
Oh boy.
If you had 9 other charter cities go, Sacramento, go ahead and sue us too. It changes the entire dynamics of that lawsuit and what they expect to accomplish.
Yes.
So charter cities, that's what we need more of them. If you are a charter city, then you have the ability as citizens to change the charter and alter it in some way that better serves you as a community.
Thank you for helping us understand more of that.
Yes. So there's this big talk, why don't we want to use machines? You got a machine in your cell phone, your computers, everything around you is machines. And our registers of voters that I've met with across the state, they know process really well, right? Step
They're
1,
experts,
step 2, step 3, step 4. They're great at following process that's laid out. They don't know certain vulnerabilities, and it's not their fault. These systems have been placed on them, and they don't come from, say, a background in cybersecurity or managing large data sets. You see, our entire election system we have today is really built around the banking system. That happened in 2002 with the passing of the Help America Vote Act. But when we don't have someone like a bank has that's an expert in cybersecurity or data patterns and transactions, actually at our Register of Voters office, then they have a dependency on someone else to go and tell them really how things are working. Our election systems, they're made with Dell motherboards or HP motherboards. Those are mostly all made overseas in another country, many of them China. We can't open them up. Even the county, if it wanted to open up a machine to see what's inside, will have the law come down on them very, very quickly. And source code, that's what your phone runs on. If you have an iPhone or an Android, they're not going to give you the source code. That's proprietary information. We can't see the source code, what's happening in our voting systems. So
Which lacks transparency.
Which lacks 100% transparency. So simply put, we can't hack paper, right? We can't hack hand counting and manually tallying that's done right in front of you with your eyes and your ears watching and being a part of that process. And it's simpler. It costs less. It takes less time to get the results. So all of those things combined is really why we should be going away from machines. Now the last point about machines is everyone goes, well, California's too big. We're 40 million people, 22 million voters. But we need to be reminded that France, that has 28 million voters there participating, they count everything by hand. They don't do elections. They don't allow absentee vote by mail voting. You can have a chain of custody, but it's very restricted and scrutinized so that they know the people that are participating in their elections has the best chance of being viable voters.
Wow, that's great information to know. I did not know that about France.
So we talked about the vulnerabilities, right? Protected source code made with foreign parts. We don't really have access to the machines and things like that. But our whole cybersecurity infrastructure is of concern as well. Most counties have what's called an Albert sensor. It comes from the federal government's agency, the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency. After the 2016 election and all of the Russia collusion or infiltrations from other countries, the federal government came in and offered these to counties as a way to keep them safe, right?
I see, that's when it happened.
To keep you from being hacked and things like that and so forth. The point is there is no such thing as unhackable, Pat. Our own Department of Defense was hacked. Target was hacked. There is no such thing as unhackable. There's only layers of protection. So let's talk about those at a county level. We have the Albert sensor that is now the federal government. The county has nothing to do with that. Security of that Albert sensor, that's all being managed by the federal government. You would hope to think that with all the military cybersecurity level intelligence, that the federal government is doing a really good job of that. After your Albert sensor, you come to what's called an air gap. At home, you can connect to your Wi-Fi at home, right? That's an internal network, but your neighbor can't connect to that. That's an air gap. So it keeps your network here and safe for you, but not for anyone else to gain access to. If you know someone that has military-grade cybersecurity intelligence experience, and I do, he says, when I ask him, well, but they have an air gap, he says, that's just an afternoon. Because you're not going directly as a cybersecurity hacker at the election system. You're trying to find the vulnerability into the county somewhere. And once you break that shield there, and you're able to get into the county network, you have much more access to now go across multiple channels and things. So our Register of Voter in Orange County, Bob Page, again, very good at process, very much knows what the state requires of him, how to go and complete and fulfill that. He has a degree in religion and communications. And I would hope the average person would say, that doesn't scream cybersecurity specialist. Those degrees don't scream data pattern analyst specialists. Those are positions that banks have. And so it's not a knock to Bob Page.
No.
He's only put his hand up to do a job. He was appointed by the County of Orange. And now the state is pushing down all of these systems, all of these changes, all of these requirements. And he's just having to go and operate within the tools, within the resources, because they don't have really the resources to go and manage the system the way, say, a bank would have.
Yes, and you say they're getting 60,000 new voter rolls or whatever a month.
Changes to the voter rolls. Our own Register of Voter told us up to 60,000 changes.
That's overwhelming.
I mean, you think about that as just, like doing one every 3 minutes and do the math. Like that takes a team of people.
Yes.
And so that cybersecurity infrastructure, when we go and scan a ballot and they're scanned during early voting, that creates a record now that can be accessed if someone could hack it. And that's another reason why we want to vote in person with our own hands and own chain of custody, scanning it ourselves. We walk in. Did you hear about after 2021 people were told they'd already voted?
Yes.
Those stories that went around, right? So if you put your vote by mail and gave it to someone or put it in the mail, how would you know that a ballot hadn't been cast for you already?
Yes.
If you go vote in person, they're going to say you've already voted. Now you have the opportunity to do something about it.
Yes. Yes.
This is an FCC mark. It's from the Federal Communications Commission. It's about all your radio devices and electronics, your Bluetooth, your Wi-Fi, your 4G cellular. Every piece of electronics at the vote center has an FCC mark and has some sort of a radio. It doesn't matter whether it's the poll book that you check in on, the ballot marking device that you make your choices on, the printer that prints out your ballot, the scanning device, the computers that manage those scanning devices. All of those things have risks and vulnerabilities. And if we go back to paper ballots with hand count, manual tally, all of those risks go away overnight. Wow. So do we want to have a simple or a complex election system? There shouldn't be any reason a 95-year-old woman shouldn't understand how her ballot was counted in this state in 5 to 10 minutes. That's all it should take to show them. And hand counting, that's like blotting a bingo card.
Yes.
I mean, it's super simple.
Yes.
So Patriot Force California, we focused on education, understanding really our election systems. We try to work with the Register of Voters across California.
They need education too, it
some of
sounds
those
like.
things, right, it doesn't seem like, that there's certain aspects of our vulnerabilities that maybe they've thought about or understand, deeply enough.
Yes.
And then the second part beyond election integrity education is really civic duty. Yeah. As Americans and what sacrifices have been made by prior generations, we actually have a civic duty for accountability of our own government, right? And responsibility to go and help promote liberty and to keep those things for future generations. What I see often happen in elections is we have this political activism, volunteer mentality. And so after the elections, most people go back to their everyday lives. We've really got to shift that in this country towards understanding that after elections, it's now about supporting those people that we elected in, holding them accountable, going to meetings, understanding the systems of government, seeing how they're spending our money. So that's a complete shift in our culture, not only as Americans, but as Californians especially.
Yes, especially
and
us.
so that's where we really like to stay in that lane. There's a lot of other organizations doing a lot of other actions. Yes, trying to do my best.
Devoting your life to it.
Yes. And then one of the other things is promoting cooperation. We have so many different groups that are focused on so many different things.
Yeah.
And I think we've got to get into this cyclical understanding that when it comes to elections, all the groups work on elections.
Yes.
When it's not elections, all the groups are protecting our kids, holding the border accountable, fighting for fiscal responsibility.
Yes.
And so we've got to get into all these different groups at one point starting to have some commonality for us to really win here in California.
Yes, great point.
These two articles in our state constitution are particularly of importance. These are both under voting, Article 2 in our state constitution. Article 1 says, all political power is inherent in the people. I don't think any of your audience is confused with that language. Government's supposed to be instituted for our protection, security, and benefit, and we the people have a right to change that when it may require. And so we have to understand that our system of government puts this power in our hands, but we have to learn how to respectfully wield that.
Yes.
We don't want to get back to a time of pitchforks and torches. We want to keep it civil. We want to hold them accountable, but we expect them to take action.
Yes.
The second one is Article 2, Section 2.5. The language in our Constitution is a little different than most states. Most states give you a right to have your ballot cast. We have a right to have our ballot counted.
Yes.
And that's why we want to get back to those hand count, manual tallied, right in front of you. You're watching all the ballots that were in your local center. You know what's counted. You could go back 6 months later, recount them again, and go, okay, I feel good that my ballot was counted.
Yes.
It's so simple.
Yes.
And so these two are ones that we really, really have to get to know and understand. As well, we should really understand our total state constitution.
Yes.
But we recommend people start with the U.S. Constitution. It's a little shorter and easier to digest.
Yeah.
So.
You mean the U.S. Constitution is shorter?
Yeah, it's only been changed 27 times, well, 17 times since the Bill of Rights.
Yes.
So, and really 15 more if you count the abolish of alcohol and then you know re-allowing that into our culture. So, yeah, very few changes because it takes so many of the states to be able to allow you to do that.
So how much bigger is our California Constitution?
I don't have an exact number, but I would estimate that it's probably 10 times bigger than our U.S. Constitution.
That's something most of us do not know.
It's been changed a lot since its adoption.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's really what you need to know at a high level. There's so much complexity and understanding, and we've got to go back to that simple process so that we can understand it easily with so many less moving pieces.
Yes.
What do we do about it?
Yeah, that's a big question, isn't it? Huh?
So 3 things that really all of this falls under. One is building community. We have to connect these groups. We have to talk to our neighbors again. We have to be fearless to bring things up, even at the dinner table. They did a really good job of telling us don't talk about politics and religion at the dinner table.
Yes.
Right now, it seems like those may be necessary things for us to be talking about. Our values within the body of politics, right?
It's 2 of the most important topics in our lifetime.
It's infiltrated every part of our life, right? Educating each other, right? Learning these things, then teaching others. And I, in Southern California, am happy to go around to a group of 6 people. Anywhere in Southern California, I'll drive there. I don't charge. So that we can sit and talk about these things intimately and really understand where do we go from here. And then the last thing is building commitment. We absolutely have to be committed towards our country. Look at the life that it's given all of us.
Oh my golly.
You know, that have lived so many wonderful decades in this country. And our future generation is losing sight of those. The ability to buy a home for a one-parent working household, if that's what they want to more raise their kids from home. That's becoming harder and harder.
That was a luxury. I was able to stay home with my children years ago. We only had one car. We made the sacrifices, but it's hard today. Parents really...
Right, and at some point in our history, you didn't have to be a doctor making six figures. You could be a plumber, and still support, a household on one income and things. So, there's no reason with our resources that we have in California that we shouldn't be making everything less expensive and greater opportunities for people. But so, building a community, educating each other, and our commitment—that's what really everything falls under. So number one, action. We need to take back our cities. So many people know who's running for president or Senate, right? Congress, the big name tickets. Most of those people don't even know what districts are running in their city or who's running for city council. They have a jurisdiction that they're responsible for, and we're not using that power. Second thing is we need to understand charter cities. Article 11 for local governance in our state constitution talks about charter cities and counties and the powers that they have for their own municipal affairs, the power over their police force, and guess what else, Pat? Running their own elections.
Wow. And that's what Huntington Beach is doing.
That's the premise that Huntington Beach went on. But here the state now is going against our own state constitution, passing legislation that violates the constitutional rights of a charter city. So if your city is not a charter city, and if you want to know who charter cities or counties, just do a quick Google search, charter cities in California, charter counties in California. It's quick, you can see about a quarter of our cities are charter cities.
That's good to hear.
And we have 13 of our counties are charter counties.
Well, that's good news.
Absolutely, but we need more.
Yes.
If your city isn't a charter city, have your city council become one. Put it on the ballot, let the citizens vote. Now this puts all that power in your hands and not as a general law city.
Yes, I'm encouraging our members in our community to be more involved in our city council meetings. We have three openings coming up in this coming election. So, it's hard actually to find people who want to run and want to be involved,
and want to serve.
Yes, and want to serve. But I pray we can find some good people, Urson.
Keep up the good work.
Yeah, thanks.
Number 3, Board of Education. That has some authority over the whole county. There are authorities given to the individual school districts as well. But to be able to know that we have good people fighting for our kids and fighting for good education, that's another meeting that we need to get out to. Network with other people that are there, patriotic citizens that are fighting for their kids or other kids even. That's a great place to build and work into that community that we're trying to build. So we can understand really what's happening across Orange County in our schools. And the pressure that's coming from the state for us to change certain things and making sure that the Board of Education takes a stand to push back from that. They have to be our interposition when bad laws come out of Sacramento.
A bulwark. We are fortunate to have 5 conservative members right now on the Orange County Board, and we just elected Dr. Stephen Bean as a conservative superintendent, so there's hope there. Central Committee is the last place of kind of like a local action item. The Central Committee is the governing body of the parties, the Republican Party or the Democrat Party. If you're a Republican, you can go to the Republican Central Committee. If you're a Democrat, you can go to the Democrat Central Committee. If you don't like the leadership that's in the Central Committee, right, that's bringing in candidates that are not fighting for you or bringing in candidates that are spending too much or whatever that might be, being a part of the Central Committee is how you can change that as a voter. And so it's hugely important that we know how that's being managed to go and get the local elected leadership in to endorse the right candidates that are willing to take a stand and fight for you and be accountable to their constituents. That all really gets influenced in a major way through the Central Committee. Thank you for helping us understand that.
There's a lot more to it, but we have limited time today. And so we can get into more of those things maybe at a meeting. Come get me at a meeting. Make a decision. I think that is one of the challenging things that I have experienced and many people experience. You're at a meeting, 10 people sign up, 2 people show up. We all have extraordinarily busy lives.
Yes.
And that's by design. The question is, are there some things that we could maybe give up? I don't watch football on Sundays anymore. Now, if it's on and I'm at home, my roommate's watching it, but I'm usually on Telegram or Twitter or reading an article or trying to educate myself about this work that we're all trying to do.
Yes.
This lovely lady on the slide is Jan Averill. She's a great friend of mine. She's here in Orange County, school board member for 26 years. And so we had some door knocking that we did a couple of months ago. She lives in La Habra. The door knocking was in Whittier. She raised her hand and went out and was door knocking at 88 years old in Whittier, California.
Wow.
So we need to make a decision, right? I'm tired of my health. I need to make a decision. I'm tired of my financial situation. Make a decision. I'm tired of my job. Our country is shifting towards a lot of central control all across this nation, which takes away liberty and people's ability to live their lives the way they want to live their lives. All the social construct should be left to the individuals to decide, and the state and the federal government stays out of those things.
Yes.
Now is the time to get involved, to be committed, and actually make a decision. One of the things I share with your friends that some of them might complain about the gas or the prices or who's in office and those things, I like to ask them, what can be done about it? Not what are you doing about it, but what can be done? That invokes them to have to respond. You're not saying, well, what are you doing about it? And if they don't really have an answer, invite them to lunch or to a meeting and let them know there's a lot that can be done about it, but they have to get involved.
Yes,
yeah.
Good idea.
Last thing is vote in person on Election Day. We're being told by the party, by Charlie Kirk and other organizations to vote early and to mail in your vote by mail ballot.
RNC.
The RNC. One of the issues with mailing in your ballot is you are letting go of your chain of custody. In Orange County, when you vote in person, you take your ballot and you scan it through a scanner and see that everything was correct. When you give your ballot to someone, when you put it into a drop box or in the mail, you are now releasing that chain of custody of your constitutionally protected right. We think that should be taken more seriously. And that the best way is to go vote in person. That's number one.
Yes.
Anyone can also see a list of who's already voted. That's public information. Some counties charge for it. Some of them have it online. The parties like this because then they don't have to go and follow these voters around, right, for who's going to support them or put resources towards it. We have to remember that there's good and evil. And if a nefarious actor wants to go and be able to influence elections, it's public information of every early vote that's received that they can go and acquire. And when we have only 30 to 40 to 50% turnout in certain elections, out of 1.8 million ballots that we mail out in Orange County, it gives a lot of availability there. The best we can do is to go vote on Election Day. That gives your voice and vote the best chance, because if someone wanted to cheat, again, not saying that they are, there's plenty of other conversations about that, but if they wanted to, you voting on Election Day doesn't give them any pre-notification. And so it's simple steps and a simple strategy, but we're constantly now being pushed with this narrative to go vote early. If you want to go vote early, go vote early. If you want to vote in person on Election Day, do that. We support those. We just try and help educate you on what the risks and the vulnerability are with doing it one way or the other.
Yes. And we think the best way is to
vote in person on Election Day. 100%. That's our civic duty.
Yes.
Get out there. That's what we want to get back to, away from 37 days of elections. Get involved. All these great organizations, whether you want to poll watch, poll observe, help support candidates, any of those types of things. There are so many other ones beyond this, but these are a few that we've had interaction with, engagement with, and feel that what they're working towards, are just efforts, for the state. So plenty to get involved with if people want to get involved.
Just pick one.
Yes. Or go have coffee with a friend and start your own little group. That's as difficult as it is.
Yeah.
So a lot of people talk about war, that we're at war right now, and we don't have tanks in the street, right? There's not bullets flying overhead.
Right.
And this is, it's called fifth generation warfare if you talk to General Michael Flynn.
Yes.
We're being attacked in so many different ways. This was put together by Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I know it's kind of small on the screen there, and it's available to distribute out to people.
We'll make it available. 25.
We'll leave that up there. Yeah, this one only shows 17. I think there's another 8 maybe on the next slide.
Yeah.
But our open borders, the fentanyl crisis, our kids being sexualized in school, this indoctrination of transphobia. As an adult, I don't care what you do, and most of us don't. But when it crosses the line to our kids, which the parents should be having those discussions with their children, that's where people start to take a strong stand.
Yes.
All of these things that our federal government is supposed to be helping with doesn't seem to be, we've got all of these issues going on right now. And so the last one that I didn't see on there that Marjorie Taylor Greene put up was really about what our country was founded on, right? I mean, God is in our Declaration and our Creator, right? And we are moving away from God in our country.
Yes.
In 2007, the polls on average showed about 16% secular. Today, that's about 28%. So that shows that
Almost
we're really
double.
moving away from that, right? And albeit that the church, right, has had bad things happen to it and so forth, that's man.
Yes.
That's not God.
Yes.
And what God
Human condition.
and what He gives us as our Creator, these unalienable rights, those are things we should really never let go of.
Right.
We should fight for those.
Exactly.
Because if man gives them to you, then man can take them away.
Yes.
So this is a spiritual battle that we're in right now. Evil is working through people to go and centralize power and confuse people and label people. And so it's coming at us from all directions, and people need to understand that.
Yes.
So what's the rightful place of government, Pat? One of our founders...
The people are big and the government is small.
That's right. Yes. The bigger the government gets, the smaller the citizen is, right? Thomas Paine, one of our founders, said it best from all the statements and things that they've said. Society in every state is a blessing. That doesn't mean like Alabama, California, that's like good and bad state, right? Society in every state is a blessing. Government, even in its best state, is but a necessary evil, and in its worst state, an intolerable one.
Thomas Paine.
I talk to a lot of people that feel like we're at the point of intolerance. That things are just that upside down, and the leadership we have at almost every level of government seems to be confused, bought and paid for, corrupt. We don't know what it is, or maybe just not willing to fight.
Sadly,
and those are the type of people that we need, absolutely serving us in government.
Yes.
So I just close with this on all my talks. This is the last words of our Declaration of Independence. We have to understand that 56 brave men told England, who was the largest military power in the entire United States at the time, we're not doing this anymore. And with just 56 of them against that powerful force, said, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. So I pledge my life to everybody. This is all that I do. I run a business, and outside of that, this is it. No Amazon series, no football on Sunday, no extracurricular stuff, because I love my country. If I had more money, I'd give more to all the groups and the causes, helping them be successful in theirs. But all I can do is really express my honor and trying to tell you the truth as we know it, and to be upfront, because that's what the American people deserve. I have no agenda other than to educate and inform people so that they can inform and educate others, and we can build a genuine movement across this state.
Urson, thank you so much for your time and expertise and sharing all you have in this series. The investment of time and your treasure, we know it will help restore our elections, which is our goal, and we want to help save America and help and trust. We all want to trust our elections and save our republic. So thank you so much, and may God bless you. May God bless America, and we help make America great again. See you next time.